Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Soshing with Suntwe. We are just running a bit late today. I can see Malume has just joined us over there in the corner, so I will be bringing him on in a minute. If you would just bear with us a minute while I get everything going as usual and do the shares and get everything sorted. Remember that we are here every Wednesday talking to a different guest, different topics, different everything. And give us a like. If you're already there with us, give us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know who you are. Say hi. Don't forget this is an interactive experience, so we get involved in the conversation. Drop your comments and questions wherever you can. We'd love to hear from you and love to take your questions and all the rest of it. Just going to do the shares quick. If you just give me a second. We want to send it to the group so that everyone there doesn't miss out. We want to send it to a couple of other places, like my profile. If you're going to want to contribute, you can send it to your profile, whatever groups you think might be relevant. Tag your mates, let them know. One more, I reckon. 2 more. Such a slow process. I need an assistant to be doing this. Life goals when I grow up. Right, I think I've done all the shares. Let's get it up on the big screen behind the one I'm using so that I can see your comments nicely. Hey Val, good to see you. Thank you for always supporting so much. It's always great to have you. Right, we are in business. So, if you don't know about Soshing with Suntwe, Soshing is a Zimglish or Zimbabwean slang term which means socializing, and Suntwe is my nickname from the Zambezi, which means hyena in Tonga. There's a long story of how that came about. If you want to read about it, check out my website, and there's a whole story about it there. But without further ado, let me introduce Malume Fresh. Here he is. Hey, bro, how's it going?
What's up, Paul? How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling quite good, actually. It's been a decent day. It hasn't been too stressful. It's been nice. The weather's been good. It's been bloody cold, but the sun was out, so there was no rain, which is a change.
Same here.
How's it in Canada?
Man, it's the same. The sun is out, but it's a bit cold. You know how it is. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So this is an interesting situation we have here, everyone, because the first time I ever did a live broadcast was on the other side where Malume was actually interviewing me, and he introduced me to this whole thing. And has been actually quite instrumental in motivating and inspiring me to start this whole Soshing for Suntwe thing. So we can actually thank him for being the inspiration behind it and giving me the tools and showing me how it's done and all the rest of it. So big up to you for that, man.
No. Thank you, Paul. I mean, that means a lot to me when you're giving me those accolades. When you give me those props. No, you did it.
It's all because of you.
I appreciate it, man.
So, as you was seen in the poster, you were born in Gwanda, is that right?
Yeah, I was. Man, that's a story. I was born deep down in the rural areas in Gwanda. Born very poor. Yeah.
I've spent a little bit of time in Gwanda. Actually, the deepest gold mine in Zimbabwe is in Gwanda.
Yes.
Vubachikwe mine, and I've actually been to the bottom. I went 1.3 kilometers underground there.
My word, I'll tell you what, I'm claustrophobic. I don't know. I don't think I'll do that.
I tell you what, talking about claustrophobic, the lift ride or the skip ride, whatever you call it, it's like a lift, but it's actually just a cage. It fits 10 people in it like sardines and takes about 10 minutes to go from the top down to the bottom. Cool. And you're in there like squashed like sardines, and as you go down it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and it's dark, you can't see a thing. It's a weird experience. That
tell you what, I'll believe your experience. I'll never argue with you. I trust you with your experience.
Yeah. But the only reason I went down was just to see what it's like, because I knew somebody who was involved with the mine, and I just said, please, can I come there one day and just go down? I want to see. And my word, it was completely different to anything I imagined.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Well, this is really weird, Paul. I'm not used to being on this other side. I gotta say this right now. I gotta put it out there right away. So in case people find it I'm uncomfortable or or somehow I'm trying to switch the conversation to be about you. So
it's bizarre when the tables are flipped on you, huh?
Absolutely.
And so from Gwanda, you grew up in Bulawayo. Which part?
Yeah, actually, I was born in Gwanda and I lived the first beginning years of my life in Gwanda until the age of 9, 10. Around 10, that's when I moved to Bulawayo. But my humble beginnings started there when I got to experience what real poverty is about, when I got to experience how it is to not to have something to eat going to bed. You know what I'm saying? My humble beginnings started from there, so which make me appreciate the individual and what I have today.
It's important that though as well. I think there's a lot of people in the world without any perspective, and I think a lot of the problems in the world are because of that lack of perspective. They don't understand or value things the way they should.
Right.
And you see it all over. I mean, like I go on and on about these ridiculous billionaires like Jeff Bezos and.
Right.
I just can't fathom that kind of wealth and how with that kind of wealth you have to lose perspective on what's real in the world because there's nothing unobtainable to you.
True. And they still want more. But because when you think about it, the amount of money that he has, what else can he not afford to buy in this modern day and age? But he still wants more. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. The last I checked, he was worth $175 billion. And for just to give a little perspective to what $175 billion is, if he gave 1,000 people $1 million each, he would still have $174 billion.
You see what I mean?
I mean, what the hell?
What the hell? And he still wants more. It's
not only wants more, he's making more every day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, true.
And second lockdown here in England starting on Thursday, so he will be making even more money in the next month. Wow. Because everybody's going to be buying everything on Amazon while they sit at home and get bored.
Yeah.
So for anyone out there listening, if you are an Amazon shopper, good for you. I also buy things on Amazon, but wherever possible, try and support your local guys because they are struggling and they are going through a really, really tough time now. And Jeff doesn't need another $1 billion.
Absolutely. You are right. So Paul. Then I moved into Bulawayo, where I did my schooling. I have a funny story for you, Paul.
I'm interested. Let's hear it.
So when I moved to Bulawayo, I was not used to Caucasian people.
How old were you?
I was 9, 10. I was
okay.
White people, Paul. So when I would back then when I was a little boy, when we saw people like yourself coming to the area, I'd be running behind to go and see, to come and take a look at you, like, what is this person real? It's weird. So, and when I moved into Bulawayo, my dad made the biggest mistake of my entire life. And he put me into an A school in primary school.
Oh, yeah.
In class, Paul, I'm sitting right next to me, nice, beautiful white girl with hair right almost close to her butt. I'm like, jeez. I was petrified, my guy. I was scared. I was like, oh my goodness. You have no idea. It was scary. But cut the long story short, I broke the record of doing bad in class dismally. I think out of 34 kids, I probably came number 39. That was scary. But yeah, so that was an experience. I took some lessons out of that because
you were distracted by all the ghosts around you. That's why, the pale ghosts.
I was distracted because the lesson was I should have been gradually introduced to a system. But I was thrown into a deep end of something that I had no clue or no idea of the other side of life. But the genius in my dad was he moved me from that school. He moved me from that school after realizing that I've done a terrible mistake for my son, and he sent me to a western side school in Pumula. I went to a suburb in Pumula. Now, another story there. When I get to Pumula and I'm at St. Bernard's Primary School, I get there. The kids over there. Okay, I didn't tell you. My dad had a home in Riverside, so that's a low density. I went to Waterford Primary School. So he moved me now. I went to Pumula, St. Bernard's. That's the West End. So now the kids over there, most of them are really coming from the low-income families at the time. So when I get there, my dad, and when I got there, I had to repeat grade 5. So when I repeated grade 5, the kids automatically expected me to be able to be fluent in English, to be good in everything. Because I'm coming from this end, and my dad is dropping me off at school with a car. So I've already been put in this level by other students, which I didn't. I left school every day going home to go and watch TV, Paul. Watch TV, sit in front of the TV, watch and listen in English, try and memorize the words in English, go onto my dictionary, try and understand what they meant. My brother, I became good within a year. Trust me, 2 years later, I was the head boy of that school. So,
excellent.
Yeah, that's the genius in my father that he did there.
So then so growing up in Bulawayo, then after that you moved to Canada.
Before then, I went to school in Dete, Maurice Brothers, where I did my secondary school, and then I did auto mechanics in Bulawayo. I became a mechanic at Dulles Motors.
What year is this now?
I finished my apprentice in 2000, and then I moved to Canada 2001.
So you're one of these guys who looks younger than he is, huh?
I like that. I appreciate it. Hey, listen, look at this gray hairs. This is not just, I've done my time.
But I know people younger than me with gray hairs like that. So that means nothing. That just means you've got wisdom.
I've labored in this world, Paul. Yeah, so that was it. So I moved to Canada. That was in 2001. Yeah.
Did you go alone or with your parents or?
With my brother, just the two of us.
Wow.
With my young brother, just the two of us.
So how old were you in 2001?
I was 23.
Wow. So that was cheapest. Okay.
Oh, you didn't get. You're calculating my age. Come on, man. Stop it.
No, but what I'm saying is that you literally went from 0 to 10 years old, not seeing a white guy, now to living in Canada.
Listen, it's crazy. And to live in Canada and work so hard and end up being in management and, and managing white people. So that was funny. That was another funny piece of experience in life.
So just before you continue, there's Samugele Impala in the comments that wants to ask a question and is claiming that I already know what the question is, but I don't. So please just ask the question so we can get around to answering it, because otherwise we're going to be here all day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, let me ask. So been in Canada then, and my other story is that I failed to get back into the industry that I went to school for, I trained for back home because of, when you come into the country, you're young and you have your responsibilities back home and things like that. I had to work hard and I had to send money back home. With our culture, we have what you call this black tax, where you have to look after your extended family.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly it was my parents, my dad. My dad wasn't too well at the time. So, I had to work hard. I had to pay my own bills, look after myself and send money back home. So I ended up finding myself in an industry that I didn't know I would end up in and excel in the manner that I did. I ended up in food meat processing. industry. So that's where I ended up.
Oh wow. But yeah, so that must have been like I want to know the sort of mindset and the like. Sure, when you went to Canada, was that your first time outside Zimbabwe or outside of Africa, or was that your first like sort of experience?
It was my first time on a plane and first time outside Africa.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So getting on an airplane, what were you thinking? What was your mind? Were you scared of getting on the airplane? Were you excited? How does it feel?
Actually, I wasn't scared. I was excited. And but I was only scared of not knowing where I'm going, because I didn't know where I was going, how it was going to end up like. But I had to be the older brother because my young brother was with me. So I had to be his pillar of support and behave macho and act macho that I'm here. You're safe when you're with me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, safe. But that's what was scary for me because I didn't know where I was going. But the plane was exciting. It was nice. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it, you know?
Mm. It must have been like stepping in a portal and stepping out into another world.
It was.
Did you arrive in Canada in winter or in summer?
That was spring.
So are you lucky? At least you didn't get the winter straight away.
Yeah, no, I arrived in spring. But however, the first winter was really brutal, Paul. It was brutal. I remember spitting and my saliva, when it touched down, it was already frozen, you know?
Yeah. What part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm in Toronto. So, but yeah, it was. And that winter was so cold. I vowed I can't get 2 more winters like this. I had to work hard in the car because, you know, when the buses. So, yeah, I worked so hard and I was able to purchase a vehicle in my second year in Canada. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And year 2, you were driving.
Yeah.
As a kid, then you must never have thought that was even possible, surely.
That's why I say to you, when I look back at my journey, I look back at where I came from, humble beginnings. I mean, if you saw me in person and you saw my legs and saw the amount of scars I have on my legs, we'll tell a story. I have a story for each and every scar on my legs to tell you what experience I went through to get that scar, and to be where I am today, and to end up being in this country is an experience. Is an experience. I think I can write a book about that.
When was the last time you went home?
2018, December.
Okay, so you went for a trip.
Oh, yeah, I try to go every 2 years. This year I was due to go, but because of this COVID, you know, life has changed.
For the people on the podcast, you can't see me. I just pulled some very ugly faces about COVID. I'm so sick and tired of this nonsense.
We are, aren't we? We all are tired of this nonsense.
It's just crazy. Yeah. So in the meat processing industry, you worked in that, and now you've got your own business in that area. Is that right?
Yes. So I worked for that organization for 13 years straight.
What were you specifically doing there?
I was a production supervisor. I started from the floor packing, and I worked my way up. And yeah.
So with meat processing, are we talking about from like abattoir, from slaughter to butchering, or we are talking from like meat to changing that to polony and salami and canning meat and stuff like that?
No, actually, for where I was more of a center of the plate specialist, portion control specialist. So, meaning to say, we actually purchase product from the abattoirs, but specific cuts. For example, we get top parts, we get strip loins, we get chucks, we get ribs, and then portion control them specifically according to specifications of that restaurant or hotel. So our focus was food service, meaning hotels, restaurants, center of the plate, like high-end restaurants. So
I see.
Type of steak that you go to I don't know what is the best steakhouse you have in the UK, but the steak that you get there would be coming from us. So we were the biggest in town to produce and supply that. And also I also got to learn that there was a science in the meat. If you notice, Paul, well, out here, I'll speak for out here, the steak that you go and have at a high-end restaurant and the steak that you go and buy from a grocery store, the same steak would taste different. Taste different. It's not because of the cook. It's not because of the way it has been cooked. It is because of the way it has been handled. The science behind the steak, which means the aging of it. Now, there's more to discuss about that, but that's what part of the processing, what I was involved in. But I worked and looked after the seafood division for a very long time. For about 8 years, I was running the seafood division, seafood fish. I have amazing videos of myself filleting fish on YouTube that when you saw Paul, you'd never believe it's me. I have amazing hands. Go look up a video called Halibut Cutting Masterclass. Halibut Cutting Masterclass. That's me right there doing my thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Halibut Cutting Masterclass.
You'll have to send me a link.
I will.
Well, that's cool. So now your business is, what is it exactly? You're the one you started?
Yeah. So after June, in June this year, I got packaged after work. So I'd already started my own side hustle. My own business is called Uncle Fresh Meats and Food. So, which means I go to meat processors, different processors, and buy products, put together, and then sell already packaged out product, which is easy for you to handle. You see, Paul, as a people that come and grown up with the background that we have as African people, I'll speak for us as African people, we have this habit or this knowledge of thinking we have to go to the farm and get a cow slaughtered for us, and we get bags and bags of meat. We're coming home with bags and bags of meat to put in the table. You're expecting your wife to start chopping up and putting Ziploc bags and putting in the freezer and everything. You've got lumps and lumps of meat in the freezer. Now, when she's cooking, she doesn't even know what cut that is, because it's all lumped up. So I'm saying that way of life, that way of doing things, we should deviate from that. I know it's nostalgic. I know it's something that we like, but it's simpler when you come to me and I give you already portioned out pieces, vac packed, and then you take it from me, Paul, you give it to your wife, she puts in the freezer nicely. She can only pull out the pieces that she wants. If she feels like she wants to grill for you, she's just pulling out whatever she needs. So that's the concept of the business. And my concept is also a door-to-door sales. So which means I sell to every door-to-door. So people can call me. Then I come and fill up your freezer, Paul, once a month or twice a month or once in 2 months. I come and fill up the freezer with whatever cuts you want. You want steak, you want chicken, you want lamb. I come and do that. You want pork, I come and do that. I fill it up for you. So that's the model of the business. So yeah, one door closed and another open. So it's been good.
So how long have you been doing that now?
I've been doing that for 7 months.
Oh, right. So this is a new thing.
It's a brand new thing. It's a brand new thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a brand new thing.
And it's going well.
Listen, man, it's got its ups and downs just like any other brand new business. It's not easy. It's not easy because when you're working, Paul, you have this safety net. Every 2 weeks. I used to get paid every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, there's income coming in. You know what I'm saying? There's a guaranteed paycheck that's coming in. But in this particular moment, you got to hustle. You got to put in the work yourself. So some weeks when there's money is not there, you got to do it. You got to get up and go. You know what I mean? So
yeah, my journey is slightly different, and it's gone backwards because not backwards, but it's a reverse of what you've done. Is that I've come from basically being self-employed my whole life to coming into a full-time employment and job.
How's that? How does that feel? How does that feel for you?
Well, I mean, like you said, it has its ups and downs, and there's a lot of pros to knowing that you're getting a paycheck at the end of the month.
Right.
But then also it depends on your character. I mean, and it depends on what sort of level you're working at, because I have an entrepreneurial spirit and entrepreneurial heart. So I'm not the kind of person that can just go and toe the line and do a job. I always want to innovate, and I want to create, and I want to
Right.
progress and move forward. So as long as you're in a position that allows for that, like sort of, then it doesn't make much of a difference really, because I'm in a position where I am doing that kind of thing anyway.
Right. So that makes sense. So because you have been given the room and the liberty to show your potential and your talents, right?
That's pretty much right. So because it's a small company, and I'm helping to run the business, so it's a good business, and it's allowing me to give innovation where it needs to be, and add to it where it needs adding to, and learn where I need to learn. And it's a major growth experience also, taking a step back and actually learning from someone else who owns the company and that sort of thing. So it's a great experience all in all. But I mean, when you talk about the journey of moving from Zimbabwe to a foreign country, and going, I think most people have got a starting from the bottom story that they can talk about. Because when I landed here, with a family of 4 and very little to my name, because Zim finished off everything we had.
I remember talking to you when you're like, Malume, I'm leaving in about a week. I remember that. So,
and it was a similar situation where I didn't walk into the country into a nice upper management desk job. I walked in here, and the first thing I did was laboring in a garden.
Yeah.
And for the first 5 months of my time in the UK, I was laboring, just doing garden laboring, picking up bags of cement and moving them and digging holes and just making ends meet, just so that I could do that while I was looking for something else.
Wow. So tell me, so for you, how has it been for the legal ones? I mean, you moved your whole family down. How has it been for them to transition into the first world experience?
So it's interesting because, again, there's like with everything, there's pros and cons, but it's mostly pros for them for the little guys. Living in Vic Falls, it's a beautiful place, but it's not a great place for small kids. It's a place where kids don't have much freedom. They have to stay in the yard unless they're supervised going outside the yard, because at any moment there can be a lion or an elephant that's going to kill them. Moving to Bulawayo, was a bit better because like my oldest son was training jiu-jitsu and martial arts with me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He was doing hockey classes on the weekends. He was doing dance classes during the week. He was going to school and all the rest of it. Whereas in Vic Falls, because there's not much people, there's none of those extra things. There's just school and home for little kids. So coming here, we walk through the forest here and nothing's going to eat them, and and there's playgrounds built for kids all over the place, and there's a lot more stimulus for small kids. It's a worry, when they start getting to teenagers and stuff like that, because then first world life can be quite daunting and dangerous. But at this stage of life, it's a really good place to be.
You are so right. You're so right. I mean, I came into this country with my brother, just the 2 of us. And now I can tell you we are 8. My brother, his wife and his 2 kids.
Yeah.
My wife and 2 kids. So, yeah.
And are your wives from Canada or from Zim?
No, from Zim. But we met them here.
Oh, right. Zimbo's in Canada. Nice.
Yeah, there's lots of them.
That's cool.
Yeah, one day when we sit out, I tell you the story of how I met my wife. Funny one. Funny story. Yeah, it's interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I saw a comment, someone saying that they remember me chatting to you on Asakhane Live about Cyclone last year. That's how we met, actually. That you approached me to talk about the Cyclone stuff, and I think, how long was that chat? We were on for like nearly 2 hours or something.
Well, we were on for 2 hours because when I start talking and we get into the conversation, it was nice. We got lost. But one thing I'll say is, one thing that impressed me about you, Paul, is level of humility and just the individual that you are. I approached you. I didn't think you were going to pick up my call and to say, yeah, sure, let me do this. I thought you'd be like, what is this about? But when I rang you and I said, Paul, listen, I need you to come and share the story about that cyclone, because there was famous pictures of you hanging on a helicopter, picking up people, doing all this amazing work for free, for nothing. And then you said, yeah, I'll come and share my story. And I want people to know, to learn. I was very impressed, and I was like, wow, I wish there could be more people such as yourself who would come out and give themselves out for free. And I feel that that spirit, doing things for nothing, has been lost in our community. When I say that, I'm saying these things like volunteer work. To volunteer is something that is so crucial, so important in our society, that our children and our society and our community needs to understand the importance of volunteering. I actually wish if only it could be introduced in our schooling system back home, that you have to put a certain number of hours to volunteer for you to graduate. I wish they could do that, because there's so much that it teaches young people and teaches us as a people, being able to give without expectation, being able to give without expecting, or not saying, I am doing this for Paul because I expect him to do something for me in the future. I am inviting Paul on my show and I'm talking to him so that when I get to the UK, if I'm stranded, I know I'm going to call Paul. He has to help me because I have done this for him. I'm saying that mentality has to go away. So yeah, man, I appreciate your humility and the kind of person that you are. I think people don't realize how special you are in our community.
You're being too kind now. But but to be honest, when you approached me, I was honored to be able to even do that. And for me, it was more of a surprise that you even wanted to listen. So it surprises me to think that there would be anybody who wouldn't comply and wouldn't want to share what they're doing.
You know what? I'm telling you, there's people in our community that become divas when they get to a certain level in life. They will. We're just doing community service. We're just being ourselves, sharing the stories. But some people will. I don't know if it's a fair thing to say. They become diverish, and they want you to go through hoops and loops just for them to come and share their experience, to show that they are one of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay.
But it's true, because I was approached by somebody in my inbox. I get a lot of inbox messages saying, oh, you need to have this person on. Oh, you should have this person on. You should do this person and give them some exposure. And I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. I will happily talk to anybody that I think that, one, I can learn something from, and two, that I can probably help. Yeah. But my primary objective is to learn something and broaden my perspectives and broaden my horizons, and hopefully broaden other people's perspectives and horizons at the same time. But so this person is inboxed me and said, oh, there's this amazing artist in Harare, you need to get him on. And they sent me links to all his work. And I was like, yeah, this looks cool, but it looks like he's also doing his own thing, promoting his life and whatever. And he looks like he's doing fine,
Right.
And they pestered me a little bit and said, no, get this artist. So I said, okay, fine. So I contacted this artist and I said, this is what I do. This is who I am. This is what I want to, I'd love to have you on and we talk about your journey and how you got here. And they were so, I mean, there's no other word to describe, but the response was so arrogant. I just stopped pursuing right there. I just said, listen, if you want, contact me. Otherwise, that's it. Fine. But yeah. I was very surprised by the response. I was just,
you know what? I've had a few of those, Paul. I had a few of those, and I'll tell you, I'll share a story with you. Social media is a very big space that has become so influential in our day-to-day living, and not only day-to-day living, also in our businesses. Social media, especially in the space that some of these people are in, they get to take advantage of social media. So I have had a few of those. But then the funny thing, what interests me more is that later on, when they realize the amount of people that you reach, the amount of audience that you reach, then they start to try and come back to you.
Mm.
But I'm like, dude, I talk to you nicely. At the moment, I am busy. I'm going to try and find space for you. I'm not going to say no. I'm going to find space for you because I already have my shows planned. Paul, you and I spoke some weeks back for this show, and I also have my own shows lined up already for the next coming month. I think almost till the end of December, I've already got my calendar covered. And I do this as community work. For me, it's just giving back to the community.
Absolutely, that's the same as this. I get no financial gain. I get no nothing for doing this. This is 100% born in wanting to share perspectives and hopefully the main emphasis for what I'm doing here is that hopefully by looking at journeys like yours where you say you came from nowhere and have achieved something, it will inspire someone who is at a place where they think they have nothing to move forward and create what they want in their life. And
Right.
by exploring as many perspectives as possible, you learn and get rid of your own ignorance, and getting rid of your own ignorance gets rid of your prejudices, gets rid of your limitations,
Right.
and gets rid of the obstacles that you need to do what you need to do in your life. So that's my only motivation.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm saying. And I mean, this brings me to a point where I probably have to share with you why and how I started the Asakhane platform.
Absolutely.
Right. So the motivation behind that was being in diaspora for so long, I noticed the level of loneliness that people face. Or we have people that the individual just lives by himself, nobody else. And I realized that the level of mental health, the way people are affected by mental health, is so high. And I noticed as well that divorce is high. Abuse is high in our community. So I thought, we have a problem. And how can I bring people together and be able to talk about issues that will help us? How can I bring people together so that someone who is here in this country, or who is in Iraq, or who is wherever they are, who is lonely, missing their own people, can go and watch and interact with their own people? So that's how I created this. I went on Facebook. I said the best way to go about it is to tackle the issues that affect us at home. I went on Facebook. I took my phone. I spoke about marriage. My first conversation was, what is marriage? What really is marriage? Let's talk about that. I had 20 people watching me on that first day, and I knew there was something into it. That's how I started. And we've grown, and people have come together, and people have identified with this brand, and people have done a lot of things. I mean, to cut the long story short, we have actually become a registered organization in Canada. Asakhane Global is a registered non-governmental, non-profit organization. And we have done a lot of work back home. And one of the projects that are so dear to my heart is the I'm thinking too much in my head. I've got so many ideas going in my head. Is the girl child? Is the girl child? So the pads, the menstrual cycle, is one of the issues that has been close to me, because as a father with a 14-year-old daughter, I mean, I have been told stories of girls skipping schools because they don't have pads. Girls being abused because they don't have pads. Being ridiculed because they have messed themselves up in school. So I had all those stories that were crazy. So, and I looked at my child, and I couldn't imagine how it would be for her to go about the day without having what she needs to go about her day. You understand what I'm saying? So as Asakhane, that's something that we took up to us as being one of our main projects that we do to help the communities back home in these rural areas that are lacking these things. So we did actually get funding or help from the community. We bought them reusable pads. We bought them disposable pads, but we realized it was not sustainable. And then we went on to find ways to get reusable ones for them. So what we did was we approached a school in Binga. It's called Sematelele Secondary School. We approached that school and we got a teacher from there. We sent them to Bulawayo to get some training on how to make those pads. And then after that, we went and bought the material. She went back and they made pads for each and every school, every kid in the school. I think there were 157 students. So the aim was for every student to have 4 of those things, those pads. So they were able to make 4 for all the kids in the high school, in the secondary school, and they also made for the ones in primary school. So it was a win-win. So that's a project that we've been working on, that we've been doing, and amongst a whole lot of other things that we have done as a community on Asakhane. So I'm glad it has grown and people identify with the brand, and people because we are about Ubuntu. That's our motto.
I must connect you with a past guest of mine and a good friend of mine in Vic Falls. His name's Prince Dube. Okay. And he's got an organization registered in Zimbabwe that does similar work called Yaga. It's Young and Gifted Africans.
All right.
And he works a lot with girls and that sort of thing, like what you've just described.
Right.
And he might be someone on the ground there that could also be beneficial to you and Asakhane.
Oh, absolutely. You see, this is the beauty of having such platforms.
Yeah, I've got a Facebook group. It's the Soshing with Suntwe group, guests and panel group. So I'll add you to that after this. It's just for the past guests, and when we have panel discussions, I put it in there and say who wants to join the panel discussion on a certain topic. Right. So I'll add you to that after this, and I'll introduce you to Prince through that.
So cool. I'd love that. Yeah. So there's a whole lot that we can do as a people, as a generation, and as a community when we come together in a common goal. So I'd love to meet Prince and see how we can work together and help it.
As we were talking about divas and self-important people that we were trying to get on our shows, I was just thinking about how incredible it was when you approach someone like Chief Nduweni.
Oh yes,
who is actually an important person.
Yes,
and is actually doing real things in the world.
Yes,
and when you approach him, you're met with the most humble humility, like yes. the most incredible reception.
Yes, Nduweni is an incredible man.
That's something I have you to thank, because you put me in touch with him. So that's how we got him on the show last week.
Yeah. No, this is the only way we can do things. Share these things, help each other, introduce people to each other. I have been blessed. I won't lie to you. I've been blessed through working and through doing things here on this social media space to have been introduced to people that I never thought I would talk to walk into offices that I never thought would be possible to walk into, just because of the space and the work that we have done as a community. So yes, Nduweni was not easy, was not difficult for me to get to. And there's a whole lot of them. There's a whole lot of them that I'm going to introduce to that I have got to meet in the short journey that I've been in the cyberspace.
That's amazing. So how long has your talk show been going for?
It's been on for 4.5 years.
Wow. And it's weekly.
Yes. And you know what? It has grown. First, it was just myself, just doing it by myself, but we have grown to introduce other hosts of the show. We've got DJs, we've got a pastor that comes and does a sermon every Saturday. We've got another lady, Osimi, that does her show on Saturdays. We've got a DJ that plays on the week, and we've got a gentleman that does on Tuesdays. He does finance, teaching people about finance. And then we have another one that is off season now, Zab, who does real estate business, Asakhane business, real estate people that want to come and share stories or learn about business. He does that. And then the Tuesday, people come to learn about finance. And then my show comes every Sunday, every week, where I talk about issues that affect us as a generation. I talk about anything. I talk to guests that come and we have a story to share. I bring a topic that we talk about. This coming Sunday, I am talking to an amazing lady that is based out of the UK who has created an online platform for learning. For example, right now you're going on to lockdown in the UK.
Yeah.
To be helped out in terms of homework. So she's got a Cambridge online schooling type of a thing where she helps kids all over the world with their assignments. So she'll go one-on-one. She's got tutors that will go one-on-one and teach these kids. And she's got tutors all over the world. So it will be an interesting conversation. And I think one that people need to come and listen to, and because it is going to be helpful. And this is someone who is amongst us as well, one of our own.
That's amazing, because I'd like to get in touch with her as well. Did you see the one episode where I had a lady called Ruth who lives in Australia, and she takes like young Australian, like especially depressed kids back to the village in Zim? I
know Ruth. I didn't see the episode, but I know Ruth.
Oh, okay, so you're on it.
I know her very well. Man, I know a lot of people now. Let me put it that way. I know a lot of people now. Some I just know them from a distance, but Ruth, I know her personally. I've had quite a few conversations with her as well.
She's a great woman as well, and it's very dynamic. And yeah, I love her to bits.
Very funny too. Yeah, very funny.
I had a comment on my show last week when I was with Chief Nduweni. Yeah. Someone saying that I think they tagged you and said that I must come on your platform sometime. It was a lady. I can't remember who it was.
Right. She probably missed that conversation. So yeah, I guess probably you are due to come back, Paul.
I think a revisit is necessary.
It is very necessary because, like I said, Asakhane has been growing over the years. I have the Asakhane page, that's where we do our broadcast, and I have the Asakhane group, which is now interactive. Group is interactive for people to be able to comment and post and do all sort of things. But the page, only the admins are able to post material in there. So the group has been growing steadily. I think we're now at about 25,000 people on that group. And the page, I don't know, man. It's reaching.
It's amazing.
It's reaching a lot of people. So yeah. So a lot of it, because it's been growing and growing, some people missed that show that we had you on. So it's time you come back, man. It's time you come back, because there's a story there. We need to learn and understand more about your story, how how it has been for you in the UK, the difficulties that you face. Are they the same difficulties that has faced you and I, me as a black man, you as a white person? Do we have the same challenges when we get to the first world? I don't know, man. We need to compare notes.
We do. We need to talk about that, because I think the difficulties that I face would actually surprise you, and likewise, I think some of the difficulties that you face would equally surprise me. So
absolutely.
But I think that's for another day.
That's for another day.
Before we start wrapping up, because I've got a couple of fun questions to ask you.
Okay.
I just want to remind everybody. So, especially since what you were talking about with the Asakhane group, that's what I'm trying to do with the Soshing with Suntwe group as well. Yeah. I'm hoping that people will start to interact and start to explore perspectives and ask their own questions and post their own posts and even put a post up there about topics that they think we should talk about. So if you're in the group, go for it. It's there for everybody to learn from.
I'll tell you the challenges of a group, and I'll share with you, probably, no problem. The challenges of a group is that what I'm finding is, for me, I have a certain vision of how things should be done, of who we are as a people. So, unfortunately, with a group, when you have about 25,000 people, you're getting all sorts of people, man, all sorts of people. So some are rude, some are just outright miserable people. They just come there to do whatever they want. Some just are there to learn. Some interact. Some are. Bro, it's a lot of work to manage the group because you have this thing that you want people to conform to. So we have rules: no to racism, no to tribalism, no to vulgar language, no to sexist comments, no to homophobic comments, all sorts of things like that. So be nice to others, do to others what you'd want them to be unto you. So we have a set of rules, and once it's a group, it's a free for all. Paul, you have no idea in the inboxes. Some people will actually come at me on the inbox and just blast them.
I understand. I used to be the one and only admin of Harari Gnosis board.
Yeah.
And my word, it's like putting a bunch of 2-year-olds in a pen with weapons.
Yes.
The internet definitely brings out the dark side of people. It's quite serious.
But one thing that what we forget as a people, that the internet never forgets. But also some people, the internet actually reveals the characters, reveals who they are, without realizing what they type. They're actually revealing their characters. As much as they might think, no, we are just playing. This is not who I am. This is social media. You actually bring out your subconscious persona out. This is who you are in the subconscious side. You don't tell me this is just internet. I'm just doing this. It's you. It's in there. It's inside you. This thing just didn't come from.
But what amazes me is that people do those things and they think that their negativity is affecting the person they're being negative about, when in actual fact, it is not doing anything to that person. All it's doing is making them look bad.
Absolutely, exactly.
Anytime they throw mud, all they're doing is getting muddy hands, because the mud doesn't hit us.
No, it does not. It does not. So I laugh, but we have had some people that would come at me, or come at one of my admins, and be so rude and so nasty, and then we talk to them at the back in private, and then they start to calm down. Then they realize, oh no. I'll give you an example. This past week, we had a family that came out and put a post on our platform asking for help because their child was this woman. I mean, we can say she made a mistake. You cannot gamble with your child. She was able to give Malaicha her child to cross over to South Africa with that child. And when the Malaicha got to South Africa with the child, that child, the woman did not have the funds to pay. So the Malaicha guy says, no, listen, I'm not giving you the child. Give me my money. I worked. Pay me. Rightfully so. He wanted his payment. You understand what I'm saying? Because he had done work, so she had to pay. But she did not have the funds. So she came onto the group. She asked for money. You know, when she asked for money, people ridiculed her. Some people attacked her. So here's the story behind this: is the mom was able to write a comment into the inbox of one of the ladies that was really insulting her. She explained the situation. That woman came back to us and said, look, I apologize. I was wrong. That was bad. And she actually contributed the bulk of the money to go and pay for the child. You understand? The child she paid to pay, and the child was released. So
lucky.
It's an experience that some people might not realize. It happens out there. There's so many things that happens out there in this world. And this is why we need to be able to work together, come together, help each other, educate each other, to show each other some of these things you should not do. You should not do this because it does not help. It puts you in risk. It puts the child in risk. It puts everyone in risk. You shouldn't. There's some things that you should never do. You understand what I'm saying, Paul?
True. So just everybody, if you've got any questions, because we're going to start wrapping up now, I'm going to ask a bunch of my little questions that are just for fun anyway. But whilst we're doing that, drop your questions in the comments and anything you've got to add in the comments so that we can try and take your questions before we wrap up. So I want to know from you, what do you think as well? First of all, obviously, we got to do the Suntwe question. So, obviously, I'm Suntwe, and I normally ask people what animal they identify with, but you probably have a totem animal, don't you?
I know I'm a heart.
Okay.
But,
So,
but my animal is right here. Have you seen my tattoos?
I haven't.
Yeah, my favorite animal is a lion. I love the lion.
Lion.
Yes.
So you identify with the lion.
Yeah.
Proud and strong and regal. It
Yes.
fits. It fits.
Yeah, that's me. I identify with it.
That's awesome. So, what do you think is your biggest accomplishment?
You know, I've worked hard in my life, but my biggest accomplishment, I always say this when I'm asked this question, is being a father, is being a dad to two exceptionally beautiful children. And to when I look at them every morning, I say, this is me. And I know I have a responsibility. I owe it to these children that there is a roof over their head. I owe it to these kids that they have clothes on their back. I owe it to these kids that they go to sleep with their bellies full. You know, I'm happy. You know, the generation can go on. My legacy can go on now because I have this.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what is your most treasured childhood memory?
It's a memory that one year I was in Gwanda. I was about 8 years old. There was so much hunger and drought in that area. You know how dry Gwanda is.
Mm-hmm.
I left. I used to live with my grandma, just the two of us at the time. I left my grandma, little boy, and I walked a distance, I think it was maybe 5 to 10 kilometers. I don't know how long that is. I should check now. To Tule River to go and fish, to catch fish. Little did I know that I was going to end up in the fish industry as well when as an adult. So I went there, and my grandma spent the whole afternoon looking for me, looking for everybody, everywhere. Everybody was looking for me. And I came home when it was not dark, and I had a big catfish that I could not even carry. I had this thing like on my shoulder, and it was dragging on the ground, and I'm dragging it. I'm coming home. As I'm getting home, people are looking at me like, "You, your grandmother, you know, is crying." When I got home, the face, my grandmother's face, you know, she was angry, but she just melted, happy because we had gone through days just going to sleep with sadza and water, salt, water with sugar, you know. So now I'd come with some protein, I'd come with meat. Paul, the anger just went away, and I would never forget that memory.
You see, that's the stuff that we miss in this part of the world, and what people miss and don't experience is that kind of like basic accomplishment, like that sense of victory, that sense of contribution to your family unit.
Yes.
Like at that base level, not obviously everybody contributes to their families and that sort of thing and accomplishes things in a different way. But at this level, it's a completely different thing.
It's a completely different level. It's a completely different level. And somebody might not understand. And somebody might listen to my story and think, it's nothing. They might trivialize it. But to me, it means a whole lot to me. And there's many lessons that I got out of that.
For sure. And the last question, if you could master one skill that you don't have right now, what would that skill be?
If I could master one skill that I don't have right now, well, probably, oh,
Tough one, eh?
that's a tough one. Because there's many skills that I would like to master. I'd like to master a lot of skills. But if I would master one skill that I'd like to, would be a film director.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's
That's
cool.
something that I would like to do. In fact, I tried to go to college at some point for film, but I because of life around me, I couldn't take it up. I ended up doing what I had to do to feed my family. But yeah, I would love to master that.
But you must. There's a podcast that I listen to called Impact Theory.
Okay.
And this guy, all he wanted to do in his life was become a filmmaker, and he ended up being creating $1 billion company called Quest Nutrition, which is all about sports nutrition. And he's quite an incredible individual to listen to. So anyone out there who wants to listen to anything progressive and something that will help with your own self-development, watch on YouTube Impact Theory or listen to the podcasts, and it's amazing. I think you should listen to him and stuff because
I would listen to him because I'd love to make documentaries, and that's something that I love. I enjoy. I would like to.
So we've got Chilo here, a good friend of mine. He's asking, what's the future of Asakhane post COVID?
We have a whole lot of things planned ahead of us. Like I said, we are a registered non-profit organization. There's going to be a lot of traveling that's going to take place, getting to many different remote areas just to try and help people. And there's going to be get-togethers as communities. We have planned one that we can do one in South Africa, and there was one that was already planned for this past July in the UK, but unfortunately COVID hit, so we couldn't do that. So we have to get back to that. So there's a whole lot of things that we are working on. Some of them that I can't just say because they're still in discussion with the board team. So yeah, but good things ahead. Good things ahead.
So the future is bright.
The future is bright. Actually, Paul, I'll tell you this. With the COVID this year, we sat down with my crew, with my team, and we tallied down on what we have done as an organization. We actually have done more this year than any other year with COVID affecting us.
That's amazing.
A lot more. We have fed a lot of families as a community. We have paid for a lot of people's bills, schools, rent, and raised money for donation from Pilo Hospital. We did that. And just last week, as a community, we also raised money for the bereavement of the young musician Kevin. We have done a lot. When I looked at the numbers to tally it down, I think as a community we have been able to. We are on the upwards of £60,000.
Wow.
Yeah, as a community. This is not me.
Yeah, sure.
It's not Malume. It's a Asakhane community coming together to contribute towards good causes.
We've got another comment from Chilo. He's sorry to be direct about this, but I love this initiative. We need more synergies between the many ethnicities and races from Zim scattered all over the world. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing direct. I think what you're saying there, Chilo, is 100% true. And there's no need to hide from that.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, I think on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure chatting to you, and I will hopefully be on your platform soon as well.
Absolutely.
I would love that. I'd love to come and join you there. Thank you to everybody watching who came and whoever commented and got involved. We're here every Wednesday, same time, different guests, different topics, different perspectives, different ways of viewing things. Sometimes we have a panel discussion, and on those panel discussions, I try to get as diverse a panel as possible from all different walks of life. We had a great one about conservation and hunting a few months ago, where we had Americans, Brits, Zimbabweans, white Zimbabweans, black Zimbabweans. So the perspectives on it were just incredible. And rather than looking for a correct answer or looking for to push an agenda or a specific opinion, we tried to just sit there and talk from all different perspectives to give you the information that you can then make your own decisions with. So I think that's the important thing. And as I always say on the show, this is a show where we celebrate ordinary people that make extraordinary decisions and live extraordinary lives as a result, because we don't believe there are any extraordinary people out there, just ordinary people that make extraordinary decisions. Every single person out there, whether they're billionaires, whether they're whatever, the same blood pumps through those veins, and the same we're all made out of the same molecules and matter. So there's no Supermen and Batmen out there. We're all just the same. So yeah, thank you so much. And with that, I want to say good night to everybody.
Thank you, Suntwe. Take it easy. See you later.
Cheers.
All right.